Welcome, everybody. This is League Name TBD, episode 5. My name is Ben Schmidtke. I'm your host. Along with me here is Jason Nygren. Jason, how you doing this evening?
Doing good. I'm still in the playoffs, so feeling good.
Yeah, well, at least your margin of error was a lot larger than mine. I played a lot of the wrong guys, and you know, had to hope that one guy didn't beat me. So thankfully, I was able to pull out a W. Continue to the next week, but I get to play Jude. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. Let's just do some quick hits on the last week here. We had, as Jason said, himself versus Monty. Beat him by almost 60 points, just under 60 points.
Barely enough where if he would have started Derrick Henry instead of Josh Adams, I still would have won by like 3 points.
Yeah, would have made it a lot more interesting though.
Oh man, I would have been pissing myself all Sunday long.
Yeah, so at least you can't say, "Oh, if I would have played him, I would have won." Oh, if you would have played him, you still would have lost. So, it's a good thing for Monty to say, and it definitely makes Monty sleep, or definitely something Monty would say, but it is definitely something that won't make him lose sleep over knowing that he would have lost no matter what. Kittle, 40.5 points, Mixon, 22.3 with the leading scores on both teams. Then we had Jude versus Elijah, the 2 versus 7. Jude doubled his score. Elijah's team totally crapped the bed, 60.6 points. I'm pretty sure that's a season low for Elijah. I hope, at least. McCaffrey got 25.1 points. Philip Lindsay led his team with 13.1. Then we had myself versus Jake, 3 versus 6, 101.9 to 95.8. This game was a lot closer than the score indicated. At some point, I was told that I lost for at least 6 minutes until a touchdown was overruled. I could not watch that game. Just knowing how small of a margin of error or small window I had, I was like, you know what? I would rather just open up my computer later on. If I lost, I lost. If I won, great. But I didn't want to suffer through watching that entire game going, crap, I played the wrong guys. Crap, I played the wrong guys. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So just wouldn't even give myself that opportunity.
Allen Robinson's foot would have been 6 inches to the right and stayed in bounds. You would have lost that game. You were literally within about this much of being out of the playoffs. So you count yourself lucky.
I do. I definitely do. What's funny is, so Jake and I are in another league together. He's got a rematch coming up this week with me. So he and I are in the quarterfinals or semifinals, I guess. I don't know which way is which. Anyways, he and I are facing each other to go to the championship. So that'll be a lot of fun having that back-to-back week against him. Phil, number 4, versus Max, number 5. Max took this one, 119.6 to 102. Last matchup, Elliott was my leading scorer, 25.2 to Jake's Matt Ryan, 21.2. Barkley got 27.7, and T.Y. Hilton got 24.4. So Max knocks Phil out of the playoff hunt, which means this league will last at least one more year. So your 2019 picks are secure. Those are going to be relevant. As for 2020 picks, those are yet to be determined. So we'll see what happens between the 4 winners. Now let's just take a quick look at Phil and Max's week, just because everybody's been talking about the one and only Todd Gurley. And I just want to take a quick glance at Phil's lineup to see what happened and to see if there's any way that he could have actually won this week.
Yeah, but it would have been, well, I mean, he started LaShawn McCoy, and that really killed him, right? LaShawn McCoy goes out with an injury early in the game, gets him 1 yard, and just gets him nothing out of his flex position. But at the same time, Max got nothing out of Jordan Reed and got 2 points out of Adrian Peterson. Phil would have had to have started. I think Kenny Stills is the only guy who would have been able to get him the points he needed.
Yep. So. Stills over McCoy would have given Phil the win by 3 points.
Yeah.
3 or 4 points. So But even at that point, I mean, you don't play a guy like Kenny Stills. Sure, he got 11 points the week before, but he hasn't seen a top 10 or had a 10-point week since week 3
Yeah.
before then. So, it's one of those things. You play all the right guys, but sometimes scoring just goes the other way. Watching Kenny and Drake run for that touchdown at the end of the
Ben?
game,
Okay.
not a fun thing to see because, especially when Jake's to my left watching the game and he's excited and he's kind of one of those things. But anywho, enough about last week. Let's look at this week moving forward.
Can we just one point on that Kenyon Drake touchdown run? I don't think I've seen. I think Phillip Rivers trying to do that. Did you see Phillip Rivers run that read option on like third down? So in the Chargers game, Rivers ran a read option and looked like the slowest guy on the face of the earth as he got run down and couldn't get like the 2 yards he needed to get a first down. Rob Gronkowski looked slower than him trying to catch Kenyon Drake. That guy looked like a 90-year-old man in football pads. Gronk looked. I don't understand why he was out there because they couldn't have even thrown a Hail Mary. They needed like 70 yards. The fact that he was out there playing center field, I mean, you put anyone else out there and they probably make that tackle.
Well, I was talking with somebody at work today, and I guess the game plan was, okay, we're going to put Gronk out there in case there is a Hail Mary. But then, they throw it to one guy, he pitches it to another, he pitches it to Drake, and then all of a sudden Drake's breaking the play down and just running through everyone or running by everyone. And I think what happened was Gronk was probably processing in his mind like, oh, crap. Like, all of a sudden, I have this guy that I have to tackle, and I think that he's not the smartest guy in the world, but I think it took a while for him to process. I need to start running. Like, no one else is going to tackle this guy, and I'm clearly not going to get there. But yeah, it was ugly. Not a pretty sight to see. But yeah, the Patriots are cursed when it comes to Miami.
They had a tough run.
Yeah, I wish that the Patriots would play in Miami earlier in the season instead of every year. I swear it's like the last couple weeks they play in Miami and they lose every time. But I digress. Anyways, this week we got Jason versus Max. This week's gonna be pretty interesting. Jason is currently without Melvin Gordon, and Odell Beckham is questionable. Should be coming back, but it's not fully guaranteed yet. His quad is feeling better today and yesterday as well. But Sunday's a few days away, and you never know if that thing's going to flare back up. But if it does, basically all he does is swaps in Evans. So pretty much a 1-for-1 deal there. Not too much of a difference. Well, talent-wise, there is a difference. Projection-wise, there isn't. So, but yeah, this matchup is a lot closer than I think I saw it this morning. I mean, you're projected to win by 2.3 points, and I don't think that includes the 1-point bonus either. This screen. So, I mean, yeah, you've got some tough matchups there. Aaron Rodgers against Chicago. I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers in the league I'm facing Jake because I would rather play Josh Allen instead of Rodgers. I don't know. Goff was the best quarterback they've shut down in the last 3 weeks. But, they shut down Eli Manning. They shut down Stafford. It's going to be interesting to see what Aaron Rodgers can do in Chicago, now that McCarthy's gone. So could be a totally different team, but it could be a really messy matchup as well.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking my thought process is that Green Bay's probably going to have to throw the ball to win this game. Chicago has a really great front seven, right, between Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd and their other guys that are up front. They've got some really great defensive linemen and linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And so to attack that defense, Rodgers is going to have to throw the ball. And Chicago being at home, I'm going to assume that they're probably going to be able to get on the board and get some points. So he's going to be playing from behind. And my only other option is Jameis Winston playing against Baltimore, who is an equally good defense, right? So I feel like I have to take the guy who is has typically been over his career an elite quarterback and just cross my fingers and hope that he is able to pick things back up. But hey, Ben.
There we go. Sorry about that. We are little technical difficulties, probably my Wi-Fi being so sketchy way out here in the boondocks, but it is what it is. Here's Jason again. Okay, so you'd rather play Rodgers than Jackson because he's going up against Baltimore or
Winston. Yeah,
Winston against Baltimore. There you go. Yeah, I think that's the right call. I wouldn't want to play Winston.
I actually think that there's a chance that this might be a relatively low-scoring matchup between Max and I. Dallas has had a great defense the last 5 or 6 weeks. There's a chance that they play pretty well against Andrew Luck, even though Luck is at home. Tennessee has had a really great rush defense this year. And so they can have that opportunity to play well against Barkley. Chicago, I think, can shut down Aaron Jones. And David Njoku's been up and down. Adrian Peterson against Jacksonville, I think, is questionable of how he's going to play. So I think that Max has tough matchups. I have tough matchups with Rodgers playing against Chicago. Michelle has been up and down the last couple weeks, and playing away at Pittsburgh is going to be tough. Devontae Adams, I think, is going to have a tough matchup in Chicago. Julio is going to be drawing Patrick Peterson in Arizona, which is going to be tough. And Tennessee, again, has had a good defense this year. And if I have to sub in Mike Evans, then he's going against Baltimore, and they got good corners to play against. And so I think there's a chance that both of us have down weeks, and one of us is going to be limping into that championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if both you and Jude outscore Max and I this week.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I mean, looking at your guys' matchups, I mean, the best matchup you currently have is Odell against Tennessee. But, it's an injured Odell going up against Tennessee, and the Tennessee rush defense is going to get to Eli Manning.
Yep.
Let me pull up something. I was listening to something today, and I want to see if I can find Eli here. Where is he at? So, I mean, Eli Manning, 21.9 points, his best game of the season. 3 touchdowns, 197 yards. Does that have an impact because he didn't have to force feed the ball to Odell? Or is it just because Barkley just, they planned for the rush, which kind of opened up the passing game probably a little bit more because Odell wasn't out there, so they didn't know who the primary target was going to be?
I think it's partly that. I think it's also partly that Washington has basically given up and that they're playing with their third quarterback. They were giving up turnovers left and right, and Washington got down a lot early. And so New York was able to they were able to run the ball at will. And then when they were able to run, Eli was able to get in a position to get the ball in the end zone. So even though I don't feel like they've really been forcing the ball to Odell since the bye week. He hasn't gotten more than 5 catches in any game that he's played in. And so I think that they've been spreading stuff around a little bit more, even though like every week I feel like you see some GIF or something on Twitter of Pat Shermer mouthing as he's on the sidelines in frustration, like, throw the ball to Odell. It's like every week I see one of those. As
Mm-hmm.
he's just furious with Eli checking the ball down to a running back or a tight end.
Yep.
I don't know. I still think Odell is going to get his 6 to 8 targets if he plays, but recently that's more been looking like it's 6 to 8 targets and not 8 to 10 or 8 to 12, where he's able to have that floor of 80 to 100 yards, where he really needs that touchdown to be productive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup for you guys. Um, Looking at Jude and my matchup, this one is gonna be a nail biter. Jude's got 5 guys playing week or Thursday night, which benefits me. As we've already talked about, Thursday night games benefit the defenses. The Chargers have a pretty solid defense. I mean, they're fourth for fourth against the quarterback. They're eighth against the wide receiver. They are, 20th against the run, but Spencer Ware is currently questionable with a hamstring injury, and he hasn't participated in Tuesday. So I'm hoping he starts Spencer Ware, because that would only mean if Spencer Ware goes in, can't really do anything, and they pull him, great. That's lost points for Jude. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. I mean, if you're Jude, you can't not play Tyreek Hill. And what I've read about his heel issue is actually that it hurt him more to walk than it did to run. And that's why you could see him sprinting down the sideline, burning guys, because he's not on his heel as much. Where when he'd get to the sideline, he'd be limping like crazy because that heel is not being impacted by a run. It's not a part of that process. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if they go, you know what, we're far enough along that we don't need him. Let's rest him up for playoffs a little bit and get him healthy. Or if they say, you know what, full go, let's do this. It'll be interesting to see if they have him on a pitch count or not.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how the Chargers play him, because if his deal is that he can run straight ahead, but anytime he has to come out of a break or he has to do anything to make a cut, that's when he's going to have to put weight on that heel of his foot. And
Mm-hmm.
so if all he's really running are go routes, there's a chance he's working more as a decoy, or the Chargers are going to be able to play over the top, knowing they don't have to worry about him cutting out to, have a comeback or an in route, or he's not doing anything that they're going to have to worry about him cutting as much.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that limits things. I don't foresee the Chiefs sitting guys, just because I believe if the Chargers win, they'll be tied with them in first place for the division. Because I think the Chargers are 9-4, 10-3 right now. They've been on a roll as well. I'm gonna look that up real quick. But I think
Yeah, 11-2, 10-3. So if the Chargers do win, they will tie it up. Now
it'll
the
be a tie.
Chiefs they have clinched a playoff berth, so they are in playoffs. They just
Yep.
have not clinched the division.
Right.
Um, so this game is important for that specifically. So
I don't know. I think that your matchup with Jude is probably going to be determined by
by Thursday
by
night.
Thursday night. If he gets out to a big lead and Mahomes puts up 25 or 30 points, Hill gets 100 yards and a touchdown. Kelsey gets, 7 or 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. If he plays Spencer Ware, or if Ware sits and he plays Damian Williams, I think the key actually to your matchup is if Jalen Samuels is the starting running back for Pittsburgh. If James Conner is able to come back and play for them, then he's got to have that decision to make of, do I slide in, am I going with Kenneth Dixon, or am I going with Josh Gordon, or who am I moving into that spot there? I think there's a little bit less certainty, especially if he decides to keep Jalen Samuels in that RB2 slot. But that's a different story. I just think that he's got a lot of Chiefs there that are playing. That there's a chance that that things uh, don't go his way on Thursday, and it could be a pretty good matchup for you going forward on Sunday, being able to take that advantage. Because I think you have some good matchups on
Mhm.
your end to be able to take advantage of. You don't really have a tough schedule for your players this week.
No, I mean the schedule is pretty green. Breeze against Carolina, although it's at Carolina and we know how great Breeze is on the road. However, Breeze does well on Monday nights.
He
So
does.
we'll see how that works out. You got David Johnson against Atlanta. I mean, if David Johnson gets me 10 points, I'm happy. If he gets above and beyond, that's icing on the cake, in my opinion. Zeke is nursing a little neck injury from that penalty that they called on him. He's going to be good to go. He'll play, especially against an Indianapolis. I mean, granted, they're ranked 16 against the running back, but they're so bad. It just doesn't matter. Antonio Brown against New England. That one's going to be interesting. It's going to be at home for Pittsburgh, which is definitely going to make things a gunfight. You know, it's going to be a lot of passing, I think. But it's been Juju's show. I think I can finally admit Juju is doing really well. And Roethlisberger likes throwing to Juju. I don't know what it is, but Antonio hasn't been getting the looks that he used to. Whether it's he's slowing down or Big Ben just likes the different target. I mean, he's getting the touchdowns, which is making him relevant fantasy wise, but
Yep.
he isn't getting those 100-yard games, and that's what's really killing him. But the touchdowns is keeping him relevant. So
Well, I think what you used to see out of Antonio Brown is that he was used in every phase of the passing game. He was used on short yardage throws where he's the quick slant or he's the bubble screen guy. And then
mhm.
he's used on the intermediate throws on the 10, 15-yard outs or the in cuts. And he was also the deep threat where he was like every single phase of the game where most teams have like three different guys who do each of those roles. Brown did all of that and he'd get touchdowns in each phase of the game, and he's still getting those touchdowns, which you, as you said, it's keeping him fantasy relevant. The only reason that he is, you know, what wide receiver 5 is because he has, what is it, 12 touchdowns this year, I think.
13, yeah, 12.
So
Yep.
11, 12, yeah. And so, like, that's the reason why he is fantasy relevant. If he only had 7 or 8, like he's a low end wide receiver 1, maybe
Yeah.
a high end wide receiver 2, and I think we've seen Juju start to take over that deep route tree that
Mhm.
was solely Antonio Brown's. And I think the switch is probably going to be a little bit, is going to take a little while to, I think, fully say that like Antonio Brown doesn't have wide receiver 1, because he still is right now. He still is a
Oh
wide
yeah.
receiver 1. Um,
His route running is so good.
and will be
And
for the
that's
rest of his career. That's what's going to save
yeah.
him.
And that's why he's getting those touchdowns is because they're short yardage touchdowns. He's not getting 40-yard touchdowns anymore. He's getting a hey, they're playing me one on one. I'm gonna burn this guy because my feet are better than his.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's, he's so talented feet wise. It's just crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the matchups that I have coming up. Granted, I've liked a lot of the matchups the past few weeks. Yeah, I've got Gronk starting in my tight end position because I mean Austin Hooper is questionable, but he's also going up against Arizona, which is pretty good against the tight end, and I need to go for home runs when it comes to playing Jude. I can't play
Yeah.
for the floor like I did with Jake. Um, I tried to play it safe just to make sure I got points and get enough points to win, and I barely did that. So,
The
um,
nice thing for you, though, is that you'll actually have the benefit of knowing whether you need to play for your floor or your ceiling by the time
mhm,
Sunday rolls around.
yeah,
If Jude comes out and craps the bed on Thursday night, where he needs to have huge games from McCaffrey and whoever else that he's slotting in there on his team. That, and I don't know if that'll really affect any of your decisions, because I don't know if you're going to start Brady over
No.
Breeze, or if you're going to, I mean, you're probably not going to slot in Hooper over Gronk anyway, so it probably doesn't affect any of your starts there. Um, but it also is, it's probably a purely psychological thing. I always love, especially in the playoffs, of having at least one guy playing on either Sunday or Monday night, because it just gives you that little sliver of hope through the rest of Sunday or into Monday, because you've got Breeze and Thomas playing on Monday night.
Hmm.
It's just that little bit where you're just like, okay, all I need is X amount of points from these guys and I win. And it just is just enough hope that your game is not over at the end of Sunday.
Yeah.
And it could be interesting because he'll have DJ Moore going on Monday night as well. And so,
And McCaffrey.
oh, and McCaffrey. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be Breeze and Thomas versus McCaffrey and Moore in what could be. There's a chance that you guys are neck and neck there at that point. Um,
Mhm.
so I think that Monday night game will be a fun one for the league to watch as we see which one of you guys makes it to the championship.
Well, what's really exciting for all of this is like Thursday, huge matchup as far as just a game goes. LA and
Mhm.
Kansas City, but it's got huge implications for my matchup with Jude. And then Sunday, the majority of my guys are playing Sunday at noon. And then he's got one guy going Sunday afternoon, the 420 or the 320 games. I've got two guys going the 320 games. I've got Brown and going against Gronkowski, Pittsburgh versus Patriots. So I'll be watching that game for sure. And then Monday, or we neither of us have a Sunday night game, so we'll at least get to take a little break there. And then Monday comes around and we both have two guys playing again. So
Yeah.
um, it's going to be really interesting to see who has the lead and who needs to do what come Monday night. And did you know that Denver's playing on Saturday this week?
Yeah, they start doing their Saturday night games. Now that college football is done for the rest of the year, I think they
Oh,
have, what is it, one or two games. I think they ramp up a couple, one this week and a couple the next couple weeks.
okay.
So, yeah,
But yeah, it's gonna be an exciting week of football. I don't know. I mean, Jude's team, it scares me. I think that when it comes to, you know, his team has no ceiling, and it's got a very high floor. My team, I mean, what's the highest I've scored this year? Um, my team, the highest I've scored this year is 151
139,
points.
one
So,
151. Yeah,
so I scored 151 points 4 weeks ago. And that was when Breeze had 34 points that night. Um, four touchdowns against Philadelphia. So, if Breeze can come out and if Breeze can get me four touchdowns and match or do better than um, Mahomes, I think that's a huge key to it because then it's the opportunity that Thomas might get at least one of those. But I don't know. It's going to be really interesting.
we just need to
I
congratulate Jude. I didn't even notice this. He had 0 games this season where he scored less than 100 points.
seriously.
He scored over 100 points in every single one of his matchups.
Well, can oh yeah, yep. The lowest Jude has scored is 106 points, where he lost to Max in
Jeez.
week 4. If you take that 106-point matchup out, his next week was 111. You take that week out, his lowest score is 120 points. So, I mean,
I
to
mean,
to score
Alex didn't hit 120 points in any matchup all season long.
is that true, or are you just saying?
That is correct. Alex
Okay.
never hit 120. He got over 100 3 times, one of which was barely. He got 100.7. He got 115 and 114 a couple times, but never cracked that 120 threshold. So I just the consistency, which I think kudos to Jude, because all of us in the league thought there's no chance that with him having all those Chiefs that he will be able to have a consistent team. Like I thought he's going to be like a 6-7, 7-6 team because they're going to be up and down and up and down, but they weren't. They were up all season long, and that basically between the Chiefs and Christian McCaffrey, they carried him to a crazy good season.
Yeah.
And so if he ends up winning the league this year, he deserves it because he made basically the right decision at every single turn for his team, which is really tough to do.
Yeah, I mean, he sold the 2019 third and was able to pick up Jalen Samuels and Spencer Ware, and
Yep.
man, he really robbed that guy.
Yeah. Oh man, that guy should be furious at this point.
I mean, furious or beaten with a stick, one of the two. But no, quick. Let's throw some questions or some trivia here at you. How many times did Mahomes throw 0 touchdowns this season?
I don't think it's happened at all yet, has it?
Once
One
against
time.
Jacksonville. How many times did Mahomes throw 1 touchdown?
Once, twice,
Once.
one time.
Now, the one time that he threw for no touchdowns, he got a rushing touchdown. When he threw for 1 touchdown, he also got a rushing touchdown. How many other games did Mahomes get rushing touchdowns?
I don't think he's been rushing for a ton. Maybe he's got 4 total 4 games with rushing touchdowns.
So 2 additional games?
Yeah.
None.
He's none. He's
None.
only rushed. The only games he's rushed for touchdowns are in ones where he's thrown 0 or 1 touchdown.
Yep.
Wow. I did see a stat, I don't know if it was a week or two ago, that he has as many 4 touchdown games as there were like 7 different franchises have had since 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been over 14 years. He has as many as others like the Bills and the Jets and a few others. That he has done that all in the first 17 games of his career.
Yep.
Which is
he has 2 games where he's thrown for 2 touchdowns, and he's had 2 games where he's thrown for 3 touchdowns. 5 games now where he's thrown for 4 touchdowns, and he's had 2 games where he's thrown for 6. So, I mean, this kid is just breaking records. I mean, he's got to be close to breaking that touchdown record, right?
Well, what did Manning do? Did Manning get to
53?
50 something? Low to mid 50s, I think. Because Brady got 51 2011 or 2007 or whenever his big was that with Moss, right?
Mm-hmm. Singles. Here we go. Touchdown record single season. Peyton Manning was 37 when he did it, and he got 55.
55.
Yep.
What is Mahomes at now for a total?
I will pull that up right now. It's taking a second here. Yeah. 43. So he's 12 behind. Holy
with 3
crap.
games to go.
He's 12 behind.
It's doable. That's gonna be tough. Like he's gonna have to he's got to average 4 touchdowns a game.
Yeah, but what I'm saying though is like Peyton Manning threw 55 touchdowns in 1 season, and what season was that? 2013. I want to look up his stats because that's just phenomenal. Like 55 touchdowns. Like we're seeing what this kid is doing. And I mean,
it's gonna be really interesting to see because very often once the teams like by the end of the season, right? The way that the NFL schedule works, every team will know who they're playing next year. They won't know the order in which they play them, but every team who's going to play the Chiefs is going to know by the end of December,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the Chiefs are probably going to be one of the marquee matchups that teams are going to be looking towards and putting on their calendars during the season. And so when teams get an entire offseason to watch film on that offense and to see, okay, this is what their tendencies are, this is what Mahomes' tendencies are, this is what he does in this situation or that situation. We haven't seen a quarterback who's come out and thrown like it. I mean, was it? I don't think any quarterback has thrown for more than 45 touchdowns in back-to-back seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he's done this year has been incredible. But for him to do it again next year would have to be like it would be the first time ever in the history of the NFL. So it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see. You'll see what Patrick Mahomes is, because if he does it again next year, he has that potential to be, Hall of Fame level elite quarterback for the rest of his career. If he can put that type of season together consistently, it's going to be something new that we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look over statistically and probabilities wise what should happen, in theory, he should come back to earth, and that whole offense should come back to earth a little bit, where he's only going to get 30 to 35 touchdowns. Still going to be a great football player. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep up what they have done over the course of this season, because it hasn't happened before.
Yep. So Peyton Manning trivia, 2013, okay? 55 total touchdowns. How many zero-game touchdowns did Peyton Manning have?
1.
0.
0.
How many one-touchdown games did he have?
This was when he was in Denver, right?
I believe he was still in
Was he still in
Denver.
Indy? No, he was out of Indy by then.
Yeah, this was his first year in Denver, I
Denver, when he
think.
just went lights out.
Yep.
What was your question?
One touchdown games.
2.
1. How many 2-touchdown games did he have?
4.
Correct. How many 3-touchdown games?
6.
2.
Jeez.
How many 4-touchdown games?
Wait, so hold on. What's that total so far? He's 0 zeros. He's got one touchdown game.
Yep. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 2-touchdown games.
Yeah, so we're at 5. And then he had 2 3-touchdown games.
2 3-touchdown games. Yep.
So we're at 7 out of 16 games. So there's 9 games left.
Yep.
Yet 5 4-touchdown games.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7. And then
7
he had
4-touchdown games. How many 5?
Did he have 1 5 and 1 7?
Yep.
Because I know he had the 7.
Yeah, week 1 against Baltimore, he had 7 touchdowns.
Because I remember him doing an interview afterwards where he was talking about Y.A. Tittle, and I remember laughing about it. He said Tittle, and it made me giggle. So
nice. But yeah, it's sick to think that Mahomes has done everything that he's done, and he's still 12 touchdowns behind. Like, he needs to put up 4 touchdowns every week just to tie.
Yeah.
It's just a disgusting stat.
Yeah.
Just disgusting. I mean, if he puts up, so what? He's 12 behind to get to 55. So he's 7 behind to tie Brady at 50 at second.
Yeah.
So he's gonna put his he's I mean, if he can get 5 touchdowns in the next 3 weeks, he's gonna put his name right up next to Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Dan Marino in his first year as a full-time starter.
Yep.
So that's something to hang your hat on. But anyways, let's get back to the matchup here. Yep. Who do you think is going to win? Because I want to go to bed.
Yep. Man. I'm actually going to pick the upset here, partly because Thursday night games are traditionally and historically lower scoring. And I think that that Chiefs or the Chargers defense has been playing better. They've got Joey Bosa back. Their pass rush has been towards the top of the league since he's been playing again. And I think that they are able to hold Mahomes in check. He might get 2 touchdowns, but I think that might be his ceiling. I don't think he's going to have a 4 or 5 touchdown game where he's throwing it all over the field. I think it's going to be a little more low scoring. And I think that because of that, Jude's going to be playing from behind the 8 ball all weekend long. And I think it'll be close, but I think that he ends up coming up short. And I think Ben's going to get his second swing at playoffs and or at the championship in back-to-back years.
Well, I hope. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just looking at it, it doesn't matter what team Patrick Mahomes has gone up against. He's defied what rankings have said. You know, LA Rams. The LA Rams are this great pass rush team against, you know, the quarterbacks. Nope, he puts up 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he throws 3 interceptions and fumbles twice, but he still puts up 6 touchdowns. You know, granted, he lost 10 points because of the fumbles and interceptions, but it's those fumbles and interceptions that allowed him to throw 6 touchdowns because he had to. You know, as long as Patrick Mahomes is on the field, I'm scared. And going up against him, Patrick Mahomes is Le'Veon Bell 2.0. He is the guy that can knock me out. Thankfully, at least it's the second round, and Jude is the number 2 instead of being the number 8, knocking me out at number 1. So when and if I lose, it's going to be a more respectable loss. I can tip my hat to Jude and fight for 3rd place and try to get, I think it's like $50 or something. So we'll see what happens. But I've got a chance at the money. Whether it's a lot of money or little money, it's money. So,
hey, if you would have been sitting here at week 1 and someone would have said that you were sitting in the semifinals of the playoffs with a chance to win, you're going to take that 10 out of 10 times. So,
oh yeah, I mean, I expect myself to be here every year. That's the way I play. Win now. So
that's right.
But anyways, let's wrap this up here. It's going to be a fun week of football. I think this is going to be the most exciting week of football we've had yet. Not just because it's playoffs, but probably because it's playoffs. But
there's also a lot of really good football game matchups.
Yes.
More than just the fantasy side. Like there's really good football games.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh New England game. The starting it off with the Chargers and the Chiefs, and you've got Monday nights with New Orleans and Carolina. There's a lot of really good Chicago and Green Bay. Like there's just a lot of really great football games that are going to be fun to watch all weekend long. And so on a football level and in terms of the league, it should be a fun weekend for whatever happens. So.
Yeah. Well, closing it out, thank you, Phil, for losing to Max this week. Like I said earlier, the league will continue on for at least 1 more year. So that's exciting. Just adds more money to the pot. And it's fun to keep this thing going along. So thanks, everybody, for being a part of this league. I'm excited to get the next couple weeks going. Next week on the podcast, we will be doing our drawing for the lottery picks.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so you guys will get to see that live. We're going to be doing the 1 through 4s, the 5 through 8s, and then next week's matchups will determine who is going to be the 9 through 12. So it's going to be exciting. Not a lot of people own their own picks. I think Zach is the only person who owns his own first. So, yeah, we'll see how things go. But you guys take care. Good luck, everyone, and have a great night. Take care.